Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Find Your Model Health, the official podcast of Shemaine's Model Health for those looking to optimize their long-term health and weight goals. I'm your host. I am Shemaine Looney. I'm a fitness and nutrition expert. I'm a biohacker and also recently certified iridologist. I'm very happy to have you back with me for another episode. I hope you're keeping really well this week. So this week's episode, we're looking at a diet, and I think I'm going to do a few of these over the next couple of weeks/months on just explaining some of the most popular and different diets out there. So a few weeks ago, you may recall, I did a podcast episode on the microbiome diet. I have done podcasts on fasting. I've done past podcasts on macronutrients, but this week we're looking at the Mediterranean diet. Before I go on, I must remind you that the information in these podcasts should not be taken as medical advice and should be taken for informational purposes only. Okay, so the Mediterranean diet is based on the traditional foods that people used to eat in countries like Italy, France, and Greece back in the 1960s. Researchers noted that these people were exceptionally healthy compared to Americans and some other countries and had a low risk of many lifestyle illnesses and diseases. And I think at this stage, the Mediterranean diet is not so much well known, but a lot of people have heard of it. And there's numerous studies that have shown the Mediterranean diet can cause weight loss and help prevent heart attacks, strokes, type 2 diabetes, and other causes of premature death. So there is no one right way to follow the Mediterranean diet, but there is a lot of ideas, and there is some more promising ways than others. There are many countries around the Mediterranean Sea, and many people practice these diets, but they may eat slightly different. I think the one thing, obviously, they all have in common is that they don't follow a high processed diet, high trans fat diet, or high simple sugar diet is not so much a thing in these Mediterranean countries. So we're going to look at the basics of the Mediterranean diet, and I just want you to consider it as more of a guideline and not something that's written in stone, because most diets do need to be tweaked to both the individual's needs and the individual's preferences. So the basics of the Mediterranean diet are pretty straightforward. So you eat vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, legumes, potatoes, grains, breads, herbs, spices, fish, seafood, lots and lots and lots of olives and extra virgin olive oil. Vinegars too are very, very popular, as is wine, especially red wine. You want to eat in moderation: poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt. And then they generally eat only rarely red meat. So you're not supposed to eat, or you don't eat, sugar-sweetened beverages, added sugars, processed meats, refined grains, refined or trans fatty oils, and other highly processed foods. When you look at the eat list, so you've got your vegetables, fruits, nuts, blah, blah, blah. So they're mostly whole food based. And you're thinking, well, where are they getting their protein? A lot of their proteins are coming from fish and other seafood. They eat a lot of seafood. And of course, the nuts, seeds, and legumes as well help a lot too. The fatty acids, of course, these are monounsaturated fatty acids, and they're coming from The extra virgin olive oil, the olives, I mean, their olives and extra virgin olive oil in these Mediterranean countries is very, very high grade. Monounsaturated fat being one of the best fats that we can have. They also will get a bit from their nuts and seeds too. But the focus usually when we look at the Mediterranean diet is what are they avoiding? And it's a trend that you see in most diets. It's not what they're eating so much as what they're not eating. So added sugar, so that's soda, candy, sweets, ice cream, table sugar, and a lot of syrups, refined grains. You got your white bread and your pasta made with refined wheat, because they do eat pasta, but it's made from real ingredients, so your durum and your semolina wheat, so it's not processed like what we would find here in Walmart or some other stores. Then they avoid trans fats, and I think everybody knows they should be avoiding trans fats at this stage, which is found in your margarines and other processed foods, and your refined oils as well, so your hydrogenated stuff, soybean oil, canola oil, rapeseed oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil. So there's quite a lot. Then processed meat, sausages, hot dogs, deli meats, so there's a lot there. And then highly processed foods, so anything generally that's labeled low fat or dyed or looks like it was made in a factory, like it pretty much didn't come from the earth, then they're advised to be avoided too. So when you look, the majority of the foods that are eaten on the Mediterranean diet, and the Mediterranean diet, like I said, it can vary from country to country, and this can make it controversial because there is such a variation between different countries. But the diet examined by most studies is high in healthy plant foods and relatively low in animal foods, so land animals. However, like I said, they're going to get their protein and a lot of good fats from the fish and seafood, and they have them almost daily. The Mediterranean diet also involves regular physical activity. There's a big community aspect, sharing meals with other people. It's a very low stress lifestyle. There's a lot of enjoying life, enjoying what the lands have to offer. They're not so much caught up in the rat race like many of us. So if you're going to follow the Mediterranean diet, you would base your diet on Mediterranean foods like vegetables, tomatoes, broccoli, kale, spinach, onions, cauliflowers, carrots, Brussels sprouts, cucumbers, and so on. Fruits, apples, oranges, pears, strawberries, dates, figs, melons, peaches, olives, of course, squash too, peppers, stuff like that, so they're in your fruits. Nuts and seeds like almonds, walnuts, macadamia, hazelnuts, sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds. Again, I will say this would need to be tweaked to the individual's needs, because some foods need to be cooked a certain way, like kale can be high in oxalates and damaging to the thyroid. So if you want to try the Mediterranean diet but you have thyroid issues, you're best working with someone and making sure that you've got everything done out right for your body. Then legumes, so they do eat a lot of legumes in the Mediterranean countries, but if you know anything about lectins, a lot of these Mediterranean countries, they are getting rid of the lectins. A lot of the times they'll peel and de-seed their tomatoes and soak overnight, and slow cook beans and lentils and peas and other stuff like that. Then they have their tubers, potatoes, sweet potato, turnips, yams, beets, so on. They do eat a lot of whole grains, and a lot of their whole grains come from their land. But because of their genetic predisposition, and they generally don't have many gut issues like we do, that they can tolerate whole grains a lot more. They're not as processed. They generally have not been sprayed with Roundup or other pesticides, and they're GMO free. And again, because of their genetic predisposition and their good gut health, they can tolerate whole grains a lot better than a lot of us in the Western world can. So fish and seafood, then you're looking at salmon, sardines, trout, tuna, mackerel, shrimp, and a lot of these are caught locally. Your oysters, clams, crabs, mussels, etc. Then they don't eat a lot of poultry, but when they do, they generally will stick to chicken, duck, and turkey. And then eggs will come from a chicken, a quail, or a duck too. Dairy is very, very minimal on the Mediterranean diet. So you might have some Greek yogurt or some raw yogurt, maybe a bit of feta cheese, but that's generally about it. Herbs and spices, of course, lots of herbs and spices, garlic, basil, mint, oregano, rosemary, sage, thyme, then your nutmeg, cinnamons, so lots there. And then, of course, your healthy fats. So they're getting a lot of their healthy fats from those good high-grade extra virgin olive oils, olives, avocados, and a little bit, not a lot, but they do have some avocado oil in their diet. So the mantra or the motto of the Mediterranean diet kind of is whole single ingredient foods are the key to good health. And they really do eat just whole good foods combined with a very active, happy, land-driven, community-based lifestyle. And that all plays a big part, especially the low stress and the laughing and the community time and eating meals together. And this all really is a big part in the Mediterranean diet that we neglect to take account for here in Canada and America and some of Europe. And it's something that's really forgotten but can have a really big impact. Before we finish up, what do you drink? Well, water obviously is a go-to on the Mediterranean diet. They also include moderate amounts of red wine, so about 1 glass per day, and that's usually with their meal. And that's not mandatory though. If you're doing the Mediterranean diet, coffee and tea are completely acceptable. They drink a lot of herbal teas down in the Mediterranean countries, and coffee is not unheard of in Italy or Greece or France or any of these other countries, but you want to avoid sugar sweetened beverages, of course, and I think everyone knows you shouldn't be having those at this stage. So that's like your pop, your soda, algo pops, fruit juices, stuff like that. So a sample day on the Mediterranean diet might be, for breakfast you do Greek yogurt with strawberries and some nuts and seeds. Then lunch they might do a whole grain, say, sandwich with a lot of vegetables on the side there, maybe some eggs, maybe some fish. Then dinner would be, let's say, a big seafood or tuna salad, lots of olive oil. They really go to town on their olive oil, and maybe a piece of fruit or a glass of red wine to go with that dinner. So pretty straightforward and pretty simple too. If you were looking at, because people are going to ask this, what could you snack on? A lot of the foods that I've listed already, you would just break down into snack portions. So a handful of nuts, a piece of fruit. Mediterranean diets, there's a lot of snacking on olives. That's a big thing, and berries is a big thing. Grapes is another big thing. Leftovers from the night before, maybe. They might pick at some Greek yogurt, apples, stuff like that. So how would you follow the Mediterranean diet if you were going out to eat or going to a restaurant? Um, Most of the time, I really feel it's easy enough to stay on your diet when you go out, regardless of what diet you're doing. It really comes down to your choices and how disciplined you are. But most restaurant meals are suitable with the Mediterranean diet, and you would choose maybe a seafood for your main dish, and you could ask them to dress your food in extra virgin olive oil. And then you could ask for a big side of steamed vegetables or a big salad on the side with some more extra virgin olive oil and balsamic vinegar. And then, of course, your glass of red wine if you wanted to do that. So that pretty much covers the Mediterranean diet. There is not one defined Mediterranean diet. Like I said, this way of eating is generally rich in healthy plant foods and relatively lower in land animal foods, with a focus on fish and a lot of seafood. You can find a whole world of information about the Mediterranean diet on the Google, or sorry, on the internet. Google knows all, and there's lots and lots of great books about it too. At the end of the day, the Mediterranean diet it can be incredibly healthy and satisfying. Most people are not disappointed, but you must take into account the other lifestyle cofactors as well, and also your genetic predisposition when we look at, say, the whole grains, for example. If you already have a history of gut issues and inflammation, then you're going to look at whole grains a bit differently from what is advised in the Mediterranean template. Okay, so I hope you found that really helpful. I am going to cover some more diet templates or protocols over the next few weeks. We'll look at the Atkins diet. We might look at paleo. We might look at vegan. So we're going to go through some maybe high protein, low fat. But if you know anyone that would find this information helpful, please do share with them. Help me reach the masses, and I would be very, very grateful. So I'll send you lots of strength and love and good luck over the airways. Okay, have a great week, everyone, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye-bye.